How do you prove yourself to yourself? We spend so much time trying to impress others, seeking validation from the outside. But have you ever asked yourself, am I really proud of who I am? Am I living up to my true potential? It's easy to get lost in the noise of the world, but the only approval that truly matters is your own. Proving yourself to yourself isn't about meeting someone else's standards. It's about pushing through your own limits, doing what feels impossible, and showing up every day for the person you know you can be. It's about breaking free from fear, failure, and doubt, and taking control of your life. In this video, we're diving into how you can finally stop holding yourself back and start proving to yourself that you are capable of achieving greatness. Get ready for some real talk about stepping up and making it happen. Let's get started. Number 1, take action daily that scares and challenges you. If you want to know what it really takes to prove yourself to yourself, don't look around you. Don't wait for applause. Don't wait for someone else to tell you you're good enough. You won't find it in the compliments. You won't find it in the results right away. You'll find it when you choose to do the things that scare you. You'll find it when you face what makes your heart beat faster. You'll find it when you look fear in the face and take action anyway. You want to feel proud. You want to feel real confidence, not the kind that disappears when people aren't watching. The kind that sticks with you when you're alone. That kind of confidence comes from doing things that are hard. It comes from pushing yourself when the comfort of staying the same feels stronger than the pain of growth. That's how you prove yourself to yourself. Every day you wake up, you have 2 choices. Do what's easy, or do what stretches you. Do what's familiar, or do what forces you to grow. The truth is, most people live the same day over and over because they're afraid. They fear the unknown. They fear failure. But what they don't realize is that by running from discomfort, they're also running from self-respect. You don't build respect for yourself by playing small. You build it by standing in front of what intimidates you and doing it anyway. You don't even have to succeed every time. You just have to do it. You have to show up, not once, not twice, but every single day, and especially on the days when you don't want to. That's when it counts the most. When your body says no, and your mind says no, and still, you show up. That's when something inside you starts to shift. That's when the self-doubt starts to break. That's when you begin to believe, maybe I can. And then one day you realize, I already did. But it doesn't happen by accident. It takes intention. You don't stumble into strength. You build it, one decision at a time, one action at a time. And the ones that matter most are the ones you don't feel like doing. That early morning workout, that difficult conversation, that task you've been avoiding, that risk you've been too afraid to take. You want proof that you're serious? Take the action that scares you. You want to feel proud when you go to bed at night. Don't run from fear. Don't hide from challenge. Walk toward it. Face it. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees are trembling, go forward. That's what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. We've all got our battles. We've all got things we avoid. And those things, those very things, are the path to your next level. That's the test. Not the easy days, the scary ones, the days you're unsure, the moments when your fear says, not today, and you answer back, yes, today. If you want to change how you see yourself, change how you act when you're uncomfortable. That's where all your power is hiding. You don't find it in the comfort zone. You find it in the stretch zone. You find it when you look your excuses in the eye and take action anyway. People will try to talk you out of it. Even your own mind will try to protect you. It will say, it's too much. It's too soon. You're not ready. But growth doesn't ask if you're ready. It demands that you get ready. It demands that you show up, raw and real, and do the thing anyway. Do you know why people feel stuck year after year? It's not because they don't know what to do. It's because they won't do what they already know they should. And what they should do is the very thing they keep putting off. Because it's hard. Because it's scary. Because it's uncertain. That's exactly where your power is waiting. It's waiting in the discipline you keep delaying. It's waiting in the phone call you're afraid to make. It's waiting in the risk you won't take because you're scared to fail. But you can't grow without risk. You can't prove yourself to yourself without stepping into fear. You've got to look at your life and ask, where am I playing small? Not in theory, but in action. Where am I hiding? Where am I saying maybe later when I know the truth is right now? Where am I making comfort more important than courage? If you ask yourself that honestly, you'll get answers. And when you get them, don't ignore them. That's your path. That's your proof. You don't need a crowd to clap for you. You need to act in silence. Do the thing that matters. Do it with no praise. Do it with no reward. Do it because it shapes you. Do it because it grows you. Do it because you need to respect the person in the mirror. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter how long you've waited. All that matters is what you do today. Start small if you have to, but start with something that tests you. Choose something that forces you to grow. If it feels a little scary, that's the one. That's the door. Walk through it. Every time you do, you become someone different, someone stronger, someone more grounded, someone who doesn't back down. You don't have to wait years for that transformation. You can feel it today. You can feel it after one hard choice. You can feel it the moment you stop running and start acting. That's the secret to building belief in yourself. That's how you stop feeling like a fraud. Not by talking louder, not by pretending you're fearless, but by proving to yourself that fear doesn't control you, that your doubts don't run your life, that your excuses are not in charge. Your actions are, your choices are. And when those choices align with your deepest values, when you choose growth over comfort, you start to stand taller, not because someone told you to, but because you earned it. You built it, you bled for it. And once you start to prove yourself to yourself, everything changes. You don't need validation. You don't need to convince anyone. You just walk different. You speak different. You carry yourself different. Because deep down, you know I show up. I follow through. I take action, even when it's hard. That kind of identity doesn't come from watching videos or reading books. It comes from action, from doing what's necessary, from doing what's hard, and doing it again and again and again, until the old version of you can't keep up anymore. If you want that shift, not just in how you live, but how you feel about yourself, then you've got to make a decision. Every morning, ask yourself, what would the strong version of me do today? And then do that. Not later, not next week. Today. Do it tired. Do it uncertain. Do it scared. But do it. There's something unshakable about a person who acts with discipline. You can feel it in their presence. And that's what people respond to. Not the talk, the walk, not the flash, the follow through. You don't need a big moment to turn your life around. You need a pattern of action, a pattern of showing up, a pattern of doing the hard thing, when it would be easier to stay comfortable. And if you stick to that, if you build that rhythm, you'll wake up one day and realize, I'm not who I used to be, because you don't prove yourself to yourself in one day. You do it in the hundreds of decisions that add up. You do it when you say, I don't feel like it, and still choose to move. You do it when fear shows up, and instead of backing down, you say, good, this is where I grow. The real reward isn't in what you get, it's in who you become. The reward is the man or woman who looks in the mirror. Whoa. I didn't fold. I didn't lie to myself. I didn't wait for motivation. I built it through action. That's where real power lives. So if you want to change, if you want to rise, if you want to walk through life with a quiet confidence, start today. Pick something that scares you and do it. No fanfare, no drama, just action. Pure and simple. Because when you take action daily, that scares and challenges you. You begin to build a life you're proud of. You earn your own respect. You stop being a prisoner to fear, and you become someone you can count on. Not someday, but every day, starting now. Number 2, track your progress honestly, with no excuses allowed. If you really want to know how far you've come, you have to be honest. Not hopeful, not guessing, not sugarcoating it, honest. And I don't mean just once in a while. I mean every day. Every single day you track your actions, your decisions, your results. Because if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. If you don't face it, you'll lie to yourself. That's just human nature. You can convince yourself that you're doing fine. You can convince yourself that you're putting in enough effort. But when you write it down, when you track it, when the numbers don't lie, then you see the truth. And the truth, even when it stings, is the only thing that can set you free. You can't grow on feelings. You grow on facts. You grow on real data. You grow on patterns that you study. And the only way to see those patterns is by tracking. Because the mind forgets. The mind makes excuses. The mind filters out what it doesn't want to see. But paper doesn't lie. Records don't lie. You want to build discipline? You want to get better? You want to win more often? Then start holding yourself to a real standard. Not just in your mind, but on the page. Track what you eat. Track how much you moved. Track how long you focused. Track how often you showed up when it was hard. Track the things you don't want to track, because that's where the real answers live. You might be working hard, but are you working right? You might be busy, but are you productive? You might feel tired, but are you moving forward? You won't know until you track. You won't know until you look back at the week and see it in front of you, black and white. There's no hiding when it's all there in plain sight. That's where growth begins. When you stop hiding from your own habits. When you say, if I'm going to improve, I've got to be real about what I'm actually doing. And you don't get better by pretending. You get better by confronting reality. That's what real progress is built on. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about taking control. Because until you track what's going on, you're guessing. And if you're guessing, you're gambling. That's not how serious people build their future. You want to be in charge? Start acting like it. Track your day like it matters. Review your week like it counts. Adjust your plan like your life depends on it. Because it does. You wouldn't run a business without tracking revenue, expenses, and profits. So why are you running your life that way? You wouldn't invest in a company that doesn't have a clear record of performance. So how can you expect to invest in yourself if you have no clear picture of how you're actually doing? It's not enough to say, I'm trying. What did you actually do? How many hours did you commit? How many promises did you keep? How many distractions did you let win? You can't fix what you won't face. And you can't face what you don't track. It takes courage to track honestly. It takes maturity. It takes emotional strength. Because what you see might not feel good. But that's not a reason to avoid it. That's a reason to lean into it. Because behind that discomfort is clarity. And clarity is power. When you track every day, you don't just gather numbers. You gather patterns. You begin to notice what triggers your bad habits. You begin to understand what helps you stay focused. You learn what times of the day you're strongest. You learn what drains your energy. And from there, you can adjust. From there, you can improve. You stop wasting effort. You stop falling into the same traps. Because now you've got data. Now you've got insight. Now you've got leverage. And the best part, you begin to trust yourself more. Because now your wins are earned. They're not based on luck or mood. They're based on patterns, on intentional action, on showing up and staying the course. You want to build confidence? Track your progress. Because confidence comes from evidence. It doesn't come from hype. It doesn't come from fake motivation. It comes from being able to say, I know I'm improving. Here's the proof. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't shake. That's the kind that sticks with you, even when things get hard. But you've got to do it without excuses. That's the part people struggle with. They track, but they add stories. They track, but they soften the truth. They write down the result, but then they write a whole paragraph about why it wasn't their fault. That's not progress. That's avoidance. Excuses are just barriers we build to protect our ego. But those same barriers trap us where we are. If you want out, you've got to be raw. You've got to be real. You've got to put your pride aside and say, this is where I am right now. And it's not where I want to stay. Maybe you didn't hit your target this week. Don't defend it. Own it. Maybe you gave in to a bad habit again. Don't hide it. Track it. And then ask why. What were you feeling? What did you ignore? What could you have done differently? Because every failure holds a lesson. But you'll never see it if you're busy making excuses. If you're always pointing outward, you'll miss the one person you can actually control, yourself. And that's the only person who can turn things around. This is about building a mindset of ownership. No more blaming the weather. No more blaming traffic. No more blaming stress or other people. Or bad timing. If you want to get serious, take full responsibility for the results you're getting. Not just the good ones. All of them. That's where real growth happens. That's when people begin to transform. When they say, I'm done pretending. I'm done hiding. I'm going to track this thing every single day. No matter how ugly it feels. Because I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm trying to become someone I'm proud of. And you don't become that person by chance. You become that person by watching your patterns and adjusting them. You become that person by confronting the truth. Not once but daily. And that starts by writing things down. Not in your head. On paper. On your phone. On your wall. Somewhere you can see it. Somewhere that reminds you. This matters. Because if you don't track, your brain will lie to you. It will tell you you're doing better than you are. It will tell you you're being consistent when you're not. It will tell you you're tired because you're doing so much. When the truth is, you've just been distracted. That's why tracking matters. It keeps you honest. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you from drifting. Because drifting happens silently. One skipped workout. One forgotten task. One excuse here and there. And before you know it, you're off course. But when you track daily, you catch the drift early. You make adjustments fast. You stay aligned with your goals. That's what separates people who make it from those who don't. Not talent, not luck, but honest tracking, real accountability, consistent awareness. You don't need a fancy system. You don't need the perfect app. You just need the decision. The decision to face yourself with no filter. The decision to look at what's really happening and say, okay, now I know. Now I adjust. Now I go again. You'll be shocked how fast you can improve when you start measuring with honesty. Because what gets measured gets managed. What gets tracked gets better. But only if you're honest. Only if you cut out the stories and deal with the facts. Some days it will feel like a punch in the gut. You'll look at the numbers and think, I thought I was doing better than. That's not a failure. That's a win. Because now you're seeing clearly. Now you're not living in a fantasy. Now you're dealing with what's real. And that's the only place progress can happen. Don't track to judge yourself. Track to learn. Track to improve. Track to adjust. Track to grow. Because that's what this is about. Growing. Becoming more. Becoming stronger. Becoming someone who doesn't need excuses. Because they've got results. There's no better feeling than reviewing your progress at the end of the week and seeing growth. Knowing it's not just a feeling. It's real. It's tracked. It's earned. And when you see it, it lights a fire. It builds momentum. And momentum is how you win. So stop leaving your growth to chance. Stop hoping things will work out. Stop guessing whether you're doing enough. Track it. Know it. Own it. Because the truth is, if you're not willing to track, you're not ready to change. If you're not willing to face your patterns, you're not ready to break them. And if you're not ready to hold yourself to that level of honesty, then you'll keep wondering why things never shift. But if you are ready, really ready, then start today. No drama, no stories, just facts, just truth, just a quiet decision that says, from now on I'll know where I stand, and I'll build from there. That's how progress becomes permanent. That's how change becomes real. That's how you take control. One honest day at a time. One truth at a time. One tracked action. One tracked action. Starting now. Number 3, wake up early and face what you avoid. Waking up early isn't just about having more hours in the day. It's about meeting the part of yourself that doesn't lie. That raw version of you. The one that exists before distractions take over. Before your phone starts buzzing. Before the world throws its noise in your face. That version of you, alone, honest, quiet. That's the version that tells the truth. And that's exactly why so many people avoid it. Because in that quiet hour, the truth shows up. You remember the things you've been putting off. The conversations you've dodged. The habits you've neglected. The goals you once promised yourself you'd chase. It all comes back in the stillness. And most people, they run from that. They hit snooze. They roll over. They bury themselves back in comfort because they don't want to deal with that mirror. But if you want to change your life, If you're serious about it, you have to stop running. You have to stand up early. Look your life straight in the eye and stop pretending. Because pretending never built anything. Facing it is the beginning of strength. Facing it is how you grow. There's something powerful about the early morning. You can't fake anything. You can't hide behind distractions or noise. You're left with the truth, what you said you'd do, what you haven't done, and what needs to change. And that's your moment. That's your time to either shrink or rise. You don't rise by pushing the hard things away. You rise by confronting them. Not later. Not next week. Now, early. While the world's asleep. While nobody's watching. That's when it counts. That's when you prove something to yourself. Everyone wants transformation. Everyone wants progress. But not everyone's willing to go where it starts. It doesn't start in motivation videos. It doesn't start in motivational quotes. It starts in the hours you don't want to be awake. It starts in the early hours where it's just you, your thoughts, and the uncomfortable truth of what you've been avoiding. That project you haven't started. That conversation you need to have. That decision you keep pushing down the road. That mess in your routine that you know is pulling you backwards. It's all there, waiting for you in the silence of the morning. And the longer you avoid it, the heavier it gets. The longer you dodge it, the more it owns you. Until you break the pattern. Until you interrupt your own behavior. Until you say, enough. I'm not hiding from this anymore. I'm not wasting my time anymore. I'm waking up and I'm facing this now. You know what builds real self-respect? It's not talk. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's not acting confident. It's doing the hard things without flinching. It's waking up early when you don't feel like it. And doing the work that you've been avoiding. And no, it won't feel good at first. It will feel heavy. It will feel uncomfortable. But that's how you know it's the right path. That's how you know you're moving toward growth, not away from it. You want a better life. It starts before sunrise. It starts when you prove to yourself that you will no longer negotiate with your excuses, that you will no longer delay what matters, that you will no longer fear your own truth. You don't need a perfect plan. You need an honest start. You need to reclaim your time before the world distracts you again. You need to stare down your fears in the hours when nobody else is around. That's the battle that matters. That's where the shift begins. Because if you can win the first hour of the day, you can win the rest. If you can face what you don't want to face while everyone else is still asleep, you start to build something powerful inside of you. Self-trust. Real self-trust. Not based on potential. Not based on hope. Based on action. Based on showing up when it's hard. Based on doing the work in silence. That's how you rewire your life. That's how you break patterns. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. While they sleep through their problems, you're getting ahead. While they delay, you decide. While they numb their thoughts, you face yours. You don't need 100 strategies. You need to stop avoiding what you know is slowing you down. You need to bring that pain into the light. You need to confront the version of you that you've been dragging behind you for years. Avoidance is a silent killer. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It says you'll deal with that tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And suddenly you're stuck in a life you didn't want. All because you never had the courage to face it early, before it spiraled. But you can change that. You can cut it off. Not by waiting for motivation. Not by waiting for perfect circumstances. But by setting your alarm, getting up when it rings, and moving toward what's uncomfortable on purpose. Because the person you want to become isn't waiting on the other side of comfort. They're waiting on the other side of effort, discipline, ownership. And all of that is found in those early hours. When it's still dark, when the bed feels warm, when the world hasn't started pulling at you yet. That's the hour where you choose who you're going to be. That's the hour where you remind yourself why it all matters. That's the hour where your future gets built. Not by accident, but by effort. You've got dreams. You've got goals. Then stop acting like you've got all the time in the world. You don't. Time doesn't wait for anyone. And every day you delay. Every morning you choose sleep over progress. Every time you push that problem to the side, you lose. Not just the day. You lose a piece of your future. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to stop hiding from the things that are slowing you down. You just need to get honest about what you've been avoiding. You need to write it down. Face it. Deal with it. There's nothing powerful about pretending everything's okay. Real power comes from saying, I've messed up some things. I've let some things slip. But I'm done hiding. I'm done waiting. I'm going to face it now. I'm going to earn back my own respect. And you do that by waking up with purpose. Not just early for the sake of it. Early with intention. Early with a reason. Early with a fight in your chest. Because every minute you spend in avoidance is a minute stolen from your own progress. And you can't afford that anymore. You've played small long enough. You've danced around your potential long enough. You've hidden behind distractions long enough. Now it's time to rise. Early, consistently. Determined. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about being better than the version of you that used to run. That used to lie. That used to delay. That version isn't coming with you. You're leaving them behind. Day by day, decision by decision. Morning by morning. It starts tomorrow. Or better. Right now. Set your alarm. Prepare your mind. And when it goes off, get up. No negotiation. No excuses. No stories. Just movement. Just progress. Just ownership. Because on the other side of that first hard hour is momentum. On the other side of that discomfort is pride. And once you feel that, once you live that, there's no going back. You'll look around and realize most people are still sleeping through their potential. But not you. You're awake now. Wide awake. And you're facing what you used to run from. That's how it changes. Not someday. Today. Not later. Now wake up early. Face what you've avoided. And take your life back. One honest morning at a time. Number 4, do hard things when no one is watching you. The moment nobody is looking is the moment everything becomes real. That's the place where your character is revealed. When there's no audience, no applause, no recognition, just you and the choice right in front of you. That's the truth test. Because doing the hard thing when everybody's watching, that's easy. Anybody can do that. But doing it when no one's around, when it won't be seen, when there's no trophy or title attached, that's where greatness is born. You want to see someone's true strength. Watch what they do in silence. Watch how they show up when the cameras are off. Watch how they carry themselves when nobody will ever find out. That's where the real power lives. That's the kind of strength that can't be faked. Because it's not about validation. It's not about being seen. It's about being solid within yourself. Most people live their entire lives trying to look good in front of others. They want to be admired. They want to be praised. They want people to think they're disciplined, motivated, successful, so they perform. They act. They curate a version of themselves that gets approval. But when the lights go off and the room is empty, that version disappears. And what's left behind is the real story. That's when the truth walks in. See, it's not what you do when you're motivated that counts. It's what you do when you're tired, when you're doubting yourself, when you're bored and no one's around to cheer you on. That's what builds self-respect. That's what separates talkers from doers. It's not about appearances. It's about consistency. It's about showing up again and again in private without needing anyone to clap. You don't earn confidence by pretending. You earn it by proving. Not proving to others, proving to yourself. That's why the lonely hours matter more than anything. That's why the behind-the-scenes work will always be the foundation. Because if it's not strong in the dark, it'll collapse in the light. Do the hard thing when no one's around, not for praise, not for image. Do it because it shapes you. Do it because it keeps you grounded. Do it because it forces you to fight through the voice that says, it doesn't matter. Because it does matter. It always matters. When you keep your promises in silence, you become dangerous. When you honor your commitments in private, you become untouchable. Because then your strength doesn't come from other people's approval. It comes from your own integrity. And no one can take that from you. The real edge, it's not talent. It's not gifts. It's not inspiration. It's the ability to suffer through the hard parts, quietly, and still show up the next day. Still get it done. Still move forward. That's what builds a life. That's what builds a foundation that doesn't shake when things get hard. You don't become powerful by skipping the hard moments. You become powerful by leaning into them, especially when you know no one will ever see it. That's how you become someone you respect. That's how you build a standard for yourself that nobody can lower. Not opinions, not setbacks, not the environment around you. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards proof. But the irony is, most of that proof is created in secret, quietly, repetitively, with no guarantee of results. That's the part that breaks most people. They want applause before discipline. They want motivation before action. And that's why they stay stuck. But when you learn to do hard things in isolation, you create something rare, a deep, unshakable foundation. The kind of discipline that doesn't waver when things go silent. The kind of grit that doesn't crumble when no one's watching. The kind of mindset that doesn't need a crowd to keep going. And let me be clear, it's not easy. It will test every excuse you've ever made. It will challenge every weakness you've ignored. It will pull at every insecurity you've buried. Because when it's just you and the hard thing, there's nowhere to hide. That's what makes it real. It's in those moments that you learn what you're made of. Not when you win, not when you celebrate, but when you're exhausted, and you do it anyway. When it's inconvenient, and you show up anyway. When it's painful, and you push through anyway. That's how self-respect is built. Quiet, consistent, relentless. There's nothing glamorous about it, nothing exciting. Just sweat, effort, silence, and commitment. But it changes you. Every time you choose the hard thing in private, it changes something inside you. It rewires your mind. It recalibrates your identity. It tells your brain, this is who I am now. And once you believe that, once you've stacked enough private victories, everything changes. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Strong enough to move forward, even when nobody notices. Strong enough to stay grounded, even when you feel alone. Strong enough to trust yourself, even when results are slow. That's the thing about doing hard things, with no audience. It builds internal power. Not hype, not excitement. Power, the kind that doesn't need permission. The kind that isn't swayed by distractions. The kind that wakes you up early, puts your feet on the ground and says, let's go again. When you master that, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You walk different. You think different. You carry yourself like someone who knows what they've been through. Someone who's earned their progress, step by step, in silence. You stop chasing validation. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop comparing yourself to other people. Because deep down, you know they haven't seen what you've had to push through. They haven't felt what you've had to carry. They haven't done what you've done when nobody was around to notice. That quiet grind, it becomes your edge. It becomes your armor. And no one can fake it. No one can steal it. Because they weren't there for the lonely nights, the tired mornings, the boring reps, the unseen tears. They weren't there when you chose discipline over distraction, over and over again. And yes, people will wonder how you're so calm, how you keep showing up, how you keep moving forward, while others break. But they'll never understand what you've been building in silence. They'll never see the hours you spent alone doing what most people avoid. And that's okay. They don't need to see it. You didn't do it for them. You did it because you refused to be average. You did it because you had standards. You did it because you decided that your goals mattered more than your comfort. And that decision, made privately, lived out consistently, is what separates winners from talkers. That's what makes you unstoppable. The real growth, it doesn't happen in front of people. It happens when you shut the door, block out the noise, and go to war with the part of you that wants to quit. The part that wants to delay. The part that says, no one will know. That's the voice you've got to silence. Because once you beat that voice, once you stop making deals with your weaker self, everything changes. Your mindset sharpens. Your habits harden. Your future becomes clear. Because now you're no longer negotiating with effort. You've made it your identity. And that's the shift. That's the turning point. When effort isn't just something you do, it's who you are. And the only way you get there is by doing hard things without a spotlight, quiet, relentless, non-stop. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're done waiting for breakthroughs, then stop looking outside. Start where it matters. Behind closed doors, when no one is watching. Do the work there. Stay consistent there. Keep showing up there. And in time your results will speak for you. Your strength will speak for you. Your growth will speak for you. But even when they don't, when no one notices, when no one claps, when no one sees, you'll still be rising. Because you didn't build this for recognition. You built it because you refused to be weak. You built it because you said, I will not be a prisoner to my comfort anymore. And every time you do the hard thing in silence, you take your power back. You reclaim a part of yourself that had been numbed by distraction. You step closer to the life that's waiting on the other side of consistency. So go, lock in. No audience needed. Do the hard things, especially when no one's watching, because those are the moments that make you. Those are the hours that shape you. And one day when the world finally sees the results, they'll call it discipline. They'll call it motivation. But you'll know better. You'll know it was built in the dark. One decision at a time. One hard moment at a time. One honest choice at a time. And that's what makes it unshakable. That's what makes it real.
Number 5. Speak only words that match your daily actions. It's easy to talk a good game. It's easy to say what you're going to do, to talk about the grind, to speak about the future, to post it, share it, say it. But none of that means anything if your actions don't follow through. If your steps don't match your statements, you're building your life on noise, and noise doesn't move mountains. Consistency does. You can't build strength with words alone. Strength is built through the daily grind, the quiet hours when no one's listening, no one's praising, no one's watching. That's where integrity lives. That's where you earn your reputation, not through bold declarations, but through deliberate behavior. If your words say discipline and your day says comfort, then you're lying, not to the world, but to yourself. And that lie will cost you every time. Don't tell the world who you are. Show it. Let your actions do the talking. Let your consistency write the story. Don't say you're focused while wasting hours in distraction. Don't say you're committed while negotiating with excuses. The words mean nothing if your routine proves otherwise. People respect results, not promises. The truth is, you lose power every time you speak without follow-through. You chip away at your confidence. You weaken your own belief system. And soon you don't even trust yourself. Not because you're incapable, but because you made a habit of saying things you never acted on. And when your own words don't hold weight in your life, what's left? How do you build anything strong on that? That's why every word must be earned. Every sentence should come from a place of action, not intention. Speak from what you've done, not what you hope to do. Talk from proof, not possibility. That's how you build credibility. Not just with others, but with yourself. When your words are backed by effort, you walk differently. You don't need to convince anyone. You've already proven it. You start to understand the value of silence, because when you're really doing the work, when you're deep in it, you don't need to announce it. You're too focused, too committed, too busy turning goals into reality. You don't need to post about the hustle, because your life is the evidence. Your progress is the proof. And when people finally see the results, it's not a surprise. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's tempting to speak about the future before you've built the foundation, to say where you're headed before you've earned the right to be there. But real confidence doesn't come from vision alone. It comes from action that supports the vision, from doing the work, day in and day out, until your habits match your goals. And until then, stay quiet. Keep your mouth shut and your feet moving. That's where the transformation happens. The discipline to only speak what aligns with your reality forces you to either level up or stay quiet, and both paths build power. If you're silent because you're not ready yet, that's okay. Let that silence push you. Let it remind you of what still needs to be done. And when you're ready to speak, make sure your life backs it up. That's how you stay grounded. That's how you stay honest. Because in this world, talk is cheap. Everyone's got plans. Everyone's got goals. Everyone wants success. But few have the patience to build, the discipline to repeat, the grit to keep going when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's slow. That's where you separate yourself. Not through speeches, but through follow-through. Think about it. When was the last time someone impressed you just by talking about what they were going to do? Probably never. We admire those who do, who wake up and show up, who let their lives be the evidence of their values, who speak rarely, but always from truth. That's the energy you want. That's the person you want to be. It starts small. Speak only what you've lived, only what you're living. Let your journey guide your language. And if you're not where you want to be yet, that's okay. Just stay quiet and focused. build in silence, grow in silence. And when the time comes to speak, speak from victory, not fantasy. Every time your words align with your actions, you gain momentum. You build something strong inside, a sense of pride that doesn't need validation, a knowing that doesn't need defending. That's the internal reward. That's the reason why discipline matters. Not just for goals, but for identity. When your language reflects your truth, your life becomes simple. No more pretending, no more faking, no more wasting energy trying to appear. You just are. You live it, you walk it, and that clarity frees you. It gives you a standard that no one can touch, because it's yours. Earned, maintained, owned. Most people want the image without the pain. They want the credit without the cost. But real growth demands something deeper. It demands alignment. It demands that every statement is a reflection of something real, something proven, something hard-earned. So next time you feel tempted to speak about what's coming, ask yourself, have I earned these words? Have I lived these actions? Have I honored the standard I'm talking about? And if the answer is no, don't lie to yourself. Don't dilute your own respect for short-term applause. Just get back to work. Let your life catch up to your words. Or better yet, let your life get so far ahead that you don't even need the words anymore. Eventually people will ask how you did it, how you stayed consistent, how you kept growing. And you won't need to explain, because they'll see it. It'll be in your presence, in your habits, in your energy. And when you do speak, it'll carry weight, because it'll come from someone who lived it. That's how you change your life. You stop saying and start doing. You stop talking and start building. You stop promising and start delivering. Over and over. Quietly. Faithfully. Daily. And when your words finally come out, they'll mean something. Because they weren't designed to impress. They were shaped by experience. They weren't aimed at image. They were born from discipline. And that's the kind of message that reaches people. That cuts through the noise. That lasts. Your voice becomes powerful when it reflects your reality. Until then, let your actions do the talking. Let your focus speak volumes. Let your consistency shout from the background. Because that's the kind of noise the world can't ignore. That's the kind of message that echoes loud, clear, and true. And when people start noticing, when they begin asking what changed, what clicked, you'll know the answer. It wasn't motivation. It wasn't luck. It was alignment. You made the decision to only speak what you were willing to live. And that one choice rewired everything. So now it's your move. What will you speak? What will you allow your voice to represent? Don't throw around words like they're weightless. Guard them. Match them. Live them. And if you can't match them yet, stay quiet and build until you can. There's honor in silence. There's strength in restraint. But more than anything, there's power in alignment. And when your words and actions finally meet in the same place, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you don't just say it. You asterisk it. Number 6. Finish what you start, no matter how you feel. Finishing what you start is one of the rarest strengths in a world obsessed with beginnings. Everybody gets excited at the start. Everybody talks big when motivation is high. When the energy is fresh, when the path is still clean and untouched. But finishing is different. Finishing takes grit. Finishing takes heart. Finishing requires a deeper level of commitment. The kind that doesn't wait to feel right. The kind that doesn't check how you feel every morning before it decides to show up. It just does the job. Because feelings lie. One day you feel on top of the world, the next you want to give up. One moment everything seems possible, then suddenly it all feels heavy. That's human. That's normal. But if you let feelings lead, your life becomes inconsistent. You start things when you're up and abandon them when you're down. You build momentum one week and then kill it the next. Nothing grows that way. Nothing lasts that way. That's why the real difference makers in life, the people who create something extraordinary out of nothing, they're not driven by mood. They're driven by decisions. They made a choice, a quiet one, a solid one, a private one, that once something is started, it gets finished. Not because it's convenient, but because it's right. Not because it feels good, but because it matters. They understand that discipline doesn't care how you feel, and success doesn't reward you for good intentions. It rewards you for completion. Every time you finish something you start,
No matter what it costs you emotionally, you build trust with yourself. You become the kind of person who follows through. And that belief in yourself, it compounds. It starts to bleed into every area of your life. You walk taller. You carry yourself differently. You don't second guess your ability because you've got evidence. You've been there. You've done the hard thing. You've walked through the fire, and you didn't stop halfway through. Because halfway means nothing. Starting doesn't get you the reward. Planning doesn't create the result. Writing it down doesn't build the life. You have to push it all the way to the end. You have to carry it when it's heavy. You have to crawl through the moments that feel pointless. You have to press through the resistance when your brain screams, let's quit. And that's the real game. That's where champions are built. Not at the beginning, not during the hype, but in the drag, the stretch, the part that tests every fiber of your resolve. Most people don't make it there. They stop when it gets dull. They quit when nobody is clapping. They walk away when it no longer gives them a high. And that's why mediocrity is common. Not because people lack talent, but because they lack endurance. They don't see it through. They give up too soon. They burn the fuel on the runway and never lift off. But not you. Not if you decide, right here and now, that what you start deserves to be finished. You don't need the fire to stay lit. You need the decision to stay planted. You don't need perfect conditions. You need unbreakable resolve. And yes, some days will be slow. Some days you'll move inch by inch. Some days you'll barely keep it together. But guess what? If you keep showing up, if you keep finishing anyway, you'll cross a line that few ever do. And when you cross that line, something inside you changes. You no longer need motivation. You don't chase inspiration. You operate from principle. You take pride in showing up, especially when it's hard. You realize you've developed the rarest trait in the modern world: consistency without applause, effort without emotion, progress without attention. There's power in that. Quiet power. The kind that moves in the background. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Because it's proven, not proclaimed. You finish your work not to impress, but to evolve. You finish not because someone's watching, but because you respect yourself. You finish because your word means something to you. And if you think about it, every unfinished project, every abandoned goal, every time you started and didn't finish, that's a crack in your foundation, a break in your belief, a reminder to your own mind that you don't follow through. And that pattern becomes dangerous. Because once quitting becomes a habit, so does regret. But the opposite is also true. Every time you push through, you build strength. Every task completed becomes another brick in your confidence. Every hard thing followed through, to the end, teaches your mind that pain isn't the enemy, quitting is. That fatigue doesn't mean stop. It means keep going with a stronger reason. You don't finish because you feel like it. You finish because that's what the version of you you're trying to become would do. You act in alignment with that person, not the one you are now, but the one you're building. And every time you do that, every time you act from that future standard, you close the gap between who you are and who you're meant to be. The truth is, you don't need more motivation. You don't need more hype. You don't need to feel better. You just need to decide, I don't stop. No matter what, that decision changes everything. It shifts the game. It hardens your mind. It makes quitting no longer an option. And when you remove that option, you become dangerous. Because now, even on the worst days, you're not negotiating. Even when life hits, you're still moving. Even when you feel uninspired, you still show up. That's where greatness is born. In the follow-through. In the last 10% that most people never touch. Everybody talks about goals. Few finish the process. That's where you win. That's where you take control. Finish the course. Write the final sentence. Ship the project. Close the loop. Finish the workout. End what you started. That's the part most skip. And that's why results are rare. Not because people don't dream big, but because they don't finish what they start. And if you're tired of starting over, stop quitting. If you're sick of feeling stuck, stop abandoning your path. If you're ready to feel alive, again, complete the mission. Completion gives you freedom. It gives you clarity. It gives you momentum. You don't need permission. You don't need the right mood. You just need to honor the promise you made to yourself at the beginning. That when you started for a reason. That reason still exists. You just forgot how it felt. So remind yourself. Remember the mission. Lock back in. Let your feet move even when your mind is tired. Let your hands work even when your heart isn't in it. Because often the breakthrough happens after the boredom, after the doubt, after the storm. You just have to get there. You have to stay long enough for the reward to find you. So finish it. Finish that course. Finish that habit streak. Finish the transformation. Don't settle for almost. Don't live at 90%. Push it all the way. Be the one who follows through. Not for applause. Not for approval. But because that's who you are now. That's the new standard. That's the new identity. And the more you finish, the more you'll realize you were never lacking motivation. You were lacking the rule. The one rule. I finish what I start. Lock that in. Make it law. Make it personal. Let it guide your days. Let it shape your future. Because in the end, it's not about how you feel. It's about who you are. And who you are is built every time you finish. Especially when it's hard. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it would be easier to quit. That's where power is. That's where the real transformation happens. That's the edge. Finish always. No matter what.
Number 7, push through pain until you earn your pride. Pain shows up for a reason. It's not an accident. It's not punishment. It's the process. The moment you decide to grow, the moment you commit to change, discomfort is the first sign that you've left the old version of you behind. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the entrance. It's the toll gate. You can't earn pride without crossing that road. You don't get to stand tall until you've been brought to your knees. That's the price. That's the path. And if you want something real, something meaningful, something lasting, then you've got to go through it, not around it. Nobody's proud of what came easy. Nobody tells stories about the effortless days. It's the pain that gives the journey meaning. It's the fight that earns the feeling, because pride isn't handed out. It's carved out of struggle. If you want it to matter, you've got to bleed for it. You've got to wake up when it hurts. Move when you're tired. Push when everything in you wants to slow down. And here's the truth. Most won't admit. Growth feels terrible while it's happening. That's why most people never experience it. They stop as soon as it gets heavy. They avoid the burn. They escape the pressure. They pull back when it gets real. But real growth doesn't come in the comfort zone. It comes in those moments when you're about to break, and you decide, this is exactly where I need to be. That's the decision that separates the committed from the curious. The ones who go all in from the ones who just say they want it. Talk is cheap. Wanting isn't enough. Everyone wants success until they feel the cost. Everyone loves the idea of transformation until they're face to face with what it actually takes. And what it takes is everything. All of you. Your energy, your focus, your discipline, your resilience. You don't get to keep the old version of yourself and become someone new. You've got to kill who you used to be. You've got to walk through the fire and let it burn off every excuse, every limitation, every doubt. That's not comfortable, but it's worth it. Because on the other side of that fire, there's a version of you you've never met. A version that doesn't flinch when things get hard. A version that doesn't fold under pressure. A version that's calm in the chaos. Strong under stress, unshakable, when life throws its worst. But to meet that version, you've got to earn your way. You can't fake it. You can't shortcut it. You've got to face the pain and decide, this won't break me. This will build me. You've got to turn discomfort into fuel. You've got to turn adversity into momentum. You've got to look pain in the face and say, I'll go through you to get to who I'm becoming. And when you do, something powerful happens. You stop fearing hard things. You start chasing them because you realize that pain is the portal, that pride you're after. It's on the other side of everything you're running from. It's waiting for you past the exhaustion, past the self-doubt, past the nights where you want to give up. But don't. You can't earn that kind of pride sitting on the sidelines. You've got to step into the storm. You've got to sweat for it, cry for it, struggle for it. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it yours. Anyone can be proud of what came easy. But when you've walked through hell, when you've suffered, sacrificed, and still kept going, you don't need to explain it to anybody. You can feel it in your bones. You earned it. That kind of pride doesn't shout. It doesn't brag. It doesn't need validation.
It's quiet. It's personal. It's rooted deep in your soul. You carry it with you every day because you know what it cost. That pride is built when nobody sees your effort, when nobody claps, when nobody understands why you're doing what you're doing. But you keep going anyway, not for praise, but for purpose. This is where you stop making decisions based on what feels good in the moment and start choosing what builds something solid. Because pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. Every time you stop short, every time you retreat, you reinforce weakness. You train your mind to run when it should rise. You condition yourself to stay small. But when you push through, when you fight back, you flip the script. You teach yourself that you're stronger than you thought. You build proof that you can handle hard things. And that proof, that's the beginning of unshakable belief. It's not built through comfort. It's built through conquest. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be willing. Willing to walk into discomfort. Willing to feel the pain and not run from it. Willing to stand in the heat and say, I belong here. You can cry. You can scream. You can fall on your face. But don't stop. Don't you dare stop until you earn that feeling. And when you do, when you've pushed long enough, hard enough, deep enough, you'll hit a moment. A moment where you look at yourself in the mirror and see someone who didn't give up. Someone who kept swinging. Someone who took the hits and still moved forward. That's the moment where the pride kicks in. Not because you're perfect. Not because you never struggled. But because you stayed in the fight. Because you stood tall when quitting would have been easier. Because you chose growth over comfort. Again and again and again. That's the edge. That's the advantage. Most people tap out way too soon. They want the glory without the grind. They want the results without the resistance. But nothing that matters comes that way. If it's easy to get, it's easy to lose. You want something permanent, something powerful. You've got to go deeper than most are willing to go. You've got to lean into the suck. You've got to befriend the pain. Not because you love suffering, but because you love who it's shaping you into. You love the power that comes from persistence. You love the fire that forges the real you. And when it gets unbearable, when it feels like you're at your limit, remember this: pain is feedback. It means you're doing something right. It means you're stretching. It means you're alive. That sting you feel, that ache, that's growth in real time. That's your future self being built. So keep going, push through. Every rep matters. Every second counts. Every step you take through the pain is one more step toward a version of you you'll be proud of for the rest of your life. You're not just training your body, you're training your character. You're not just chasing goals, you're forging identity. This is deeper than fitness, deeper than business, deeper than career. This is about self-respect. This is about proving to yourself that you don't fold under pressure, that you can trust yourself to finish what you start, that you don't need life to get easier. You just need to get tougher. You do that by embracing the pain. Not all at once, but daily, bit by bit, step by step, until pain no longer scares you. It motivates you. It becomes the sign that you're on the right path, that you're doing the work, that you're moving closer to something extraordinary. And when you finally earn that pride, when you finally look back at the pain you pushed through, you'll realize it wasn't the pain that made you suffer. It was the resistance. Once you stop fighting it and start using it, everything changes. So go earn it. Earn that quiet confidence. Earn that deep inner power. Earn that version of you who walks into any room knowing they've paid the price. That's real. That's rare. That's the kind of pride nobody can take from you. Not because life gave it to you, but because you took it. Through the sweat, through the struggle, through the pain. And that's what makes it yours. Forever.
Number 8, reject comfort and choose discipline every single day. Comfort feels good until you realize it's been robbing you of your future. It feels warm, safe, familiar, but it's not your friend. It's the silent enemy. It doesn't attack you head on. It slowly numbs your ambition, dulls your edge, and makes you okay with being less than what you could be. It convinces you to take it easy. Wait for the right time, sleep in a little longer, delay the hard choices, push off the truth. But there's a cost, and that cost is your potential. You weren't built for ease. You weren't meant to coast through life, avoiding effort.
Everything worthwhile demands effort. Real peace doesn't come from avoiding struggle. It comes from earning the right to stand tall through it. You want confidence? Build it. You want freedom? Discipline is the road. You want pride? Earn it with daily choices. And that means saying no to comfort, not once in a while, but every single day. Discipline is how you reclaim control. It's how you silence the voice that says, just this once, it won't hurt. It's how you override the part of you that wants to stay small, stay hidden, stay safe. That voice will always be there. It will whisper excuses every morning. It will try to negotiate every time things get hard. And if you listen to it, you lose. But discipline doesn't speak. It acts. It wakes you up before the sun and doesn't ask if you feel like it. It shows up even when nobody's watching. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek motivation. It doesn't care about how you feel. It only cares about what must be done. It moves with purpose. And it keeps moving when comfort would have you quit. You don't grow by doing what's easy. You grow by choosing what's necessary. Every single day you're presented with a decision. Do I choose comfort or do I choose character? Do I feed my habits or do I feed my emotions? Do I follow what feels good now or do I stay loyal to the future I said I wanted? That's what discipline is. Loyalty to your vision over your feelings. It's not a punishment. It's self-respect in motion. It's saying, I will not betray myself for a cheap escape. It's drawing a line and saying, this is who I'm becoming, and I refuse to back down. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they prioritize comfort over progress. They give in to what's easy, then wonder why nothing changes. They look for hacks, shortcuts, and motivation, when all they ever needed was the will to do what's hard consistently. Discipline doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be committed, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because that's when it counts. That's when it builds something inside you that can't be shaken. Not by failure, not by fatigue, not by fear. And let's get real. There will be days where you don't want to move. Days where every part of you screams to quit. That's not a sign to stop. That's a sign you're right where you're supposed to be. Because discipline is forged in those exact moments. The ones where comfort would have you fold, but something deeper in you says, not today. You start to realize something powerful when you reject comfort long enough. You realize how much of your suffering came from choosing ease. The pain of regret, the anxiety of unfinished goals, the shame of quitting too soon. That's the weight comfort puts on your back. But discipline lifts it off. It gives you clarity. It gives you power. It replaces shame with strength, confusion with purpose. The days stack, the wins build, and suddenly, you don't need motivation to move. You don't need to be hyped up to do what's required. You've trained yourself to act, not react. You've turned discipline from a burden into a way of life, a standard, a mindset. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop giving in to that version of you who wants the path of least resistance. You stop tolerating the tiny lies that pull you off course. Because discipline doesn't leave room for excuses. It doesn't let you off the hook. And that's why it works. That's why it transforms everything. You can have the life you want, but you can't have it and keep your comfort too. One has to go. One has to be sacrificed. Discipline means you're willing to make that trade. You're willing to hurt now so you don't suffer later. You're willing to sweat today so you don't break tomorrow. And it's not about doing big things once in a while. It's about doing the small things over and over and over. Showing up, staying sharp, keeping promises to yourself when it would be easy to break them. That's where power is built. That's where confidence comes from. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be relentless. You need to stop waiting for the right mood and start moving because it's required. The moment you decide that discipline is not optional, everything shifts. Your schedule changes. Your habits change. Your identity changes. Because when you live with discipline, you stop hoping for a better life. You start building one, brick by brick, step by step, sacrifice by sacrifice. That's how real change happens. Quietly, slowly, through repetition, through choices that nobody claps for. But you do it anyway because you're not here for comfort. You're here for growth.
And the most powerful part, the more you choose discipline, the stronger you get. Your tolerance for discomfort increases. Your focus sharpens. Your energy aligns with your purpose. You begin to live on your terms, not ruled by impulses, not driven by laziness, not swayed by emotion. You become someone you can count on, someone others can count on, someone who doesn't flinch when pressure rises. Comfort wants to keep you where you are. Discipline wants to take you where you belong. Every day you wake up, that decision is waiting. Nobody can make it for you. Nobody can force you to rise. You've got to choose. You've got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I will not lose to myself today. And then prove it. Hour by hour, action by action. You want to feel strong. Do what's hard. You want to feel proud. Keep going when it would be easier to quit. You want to win. Reject the things that are stealing your edge. Say no to distraction. Say no to indulgence. Say no to weakness. Say yes to discipline. Again and again and again. And over time it stops being a chore. It becomes who you are. You become the person who doesn't skip workouts, who doesn't slack on the work, who doesn't break their word. Not because it's easy, but because it's what's right. And you've decided that being right with yourself matters more than anything else. Discipline isn't harsh. It's honest. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't compromise. It tells you the truth. This is what it takes. Do you want it or not? And if your answer is yes, then let your actions match it. Let your choices reflect it. Let your routine prove it. Don't wait for passion. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait for someone to push you. Push yourself now. Today, this moment, because every day you delay, comfort grows stronger. It tightens its grip. It steals your time, your energy, your drive. Don't let it win. Don't let it decide the direction of your life. You take back the wheel. You take back your strength. You build something unshakable, not by luck, not by chance, but by choosing discipline every single day.
Number 9, look yourself in the mirror and own everything. There comes a time in every person's life when they need to stand face to face with their own reflection and make a decision. Do you own the person staring back at you? Do you take full responsibility for the choices, the mistakes, and the victories that have brought you here? Or do you turn away, avoid the truth, and keep living in a world of excuses and blame? When you look in the mirror, you're not just seeing your face, you're seeing your life. Every action, every thought, every moment you've chosen to engage or disengage, all the ways you've shown up or not shown up, it's all there. There is nowhere to hide, no one else to blame. It's just you and the reflection of what you've allowed yourself to become. So how do you look at yourself in that moment? Do you shrink away? Do you find reasons why you're not where you should be? Do you make excuses for your actions or lack thereof? Or do you stand tall, unflinching, and take full ownership of the person you've become? The truth is, owning everything about yourself is the hardest, yet most powerful thing you can do. It's the hardest because it requires you to face the uncomfortable truths that no one else sees. It requires you to admit when you've messed up, when you've been weak, when you've been lazy, when you've been afraid. It requires you to look at yourself and say, I created this, even if you didn't want to, even if it wasn't easy to admit. But that's where your power lies, right in the heart of that discomfort. The moment you take full ownership of your life, you take full control of your future. The moment you stop blaming the world, the people around you, or circumstances for where you are, you unlock the ability to change it. So why do so many people avoid looking at themselves in the mirror? Because it's easier to point the finger at someone else. It's easier to say, I wasn't given the right opportunities, or if I had been born in a different place, with different people, my life would be different. It's easier to shift responsibility. But as long as you're shifting responsibility, you're also shifting your power. Because the truth is, the world will never change unless you change first. When you own your life, you own your decisions. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions or for someone to give you permission to be great. You stop being a passenger and start being the driver. And you know what? It doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter if you've made mistakes or taken wrong turns. What matters is the moment you look yourself in the eye and say, "This is my life, and I am responsible for what I do with it." When you look in that mirror, ask yourself this: am I really living up to my potential? Am I really doing everything I can to be the person I know I'm capable of becoming? And if the answer is no, then ask yourself why. What are the excuses you've been telling yourself? What are the lies you've been believing about your limitations? What have you been avoiding? Too many people let their fear define them. They live in a world of could have beens, should have don'ts, and if onlys. They waste time hoping for the right moment, the right circumstances, the right people to come along and change their lives. But the right moment is now. The right people are already around you, and most importantly, the right conditions are the ones you create. When you own your life, you take full control of your circumstances. You stop waiting for change to come to you, and you become the change. Owning everything also means accepting your failures. That's right, your failures. We live in a world that tries to hide failure, sweep it under the rug, make it something to be ashamed of. But failure is not the enemy. The enemy is ignoring failure, pretending it doesn't matter, or worse, blaming others for it. The most successful people in the world didn't get there because they avoided failure. They got there because they embraced it. They looked at their failures, acknowledged them, and then used them as stepping stones to something better. When you own your failures, you stop being afraid of them. You start seeing them as valuable lessons that will teach you something about yourself, your weaknesses, and your strengths. Every failure is a chance to refine your approach, to get better, and to grow. And here's the thing about failures: they don't define you. They're just part of your journey. Your journey is not over until you decide it's over. If you fall down, get back up. If you make a mistake, fix it. If you fail, learn from it. But above all, keep going. That's what owning your life really looks like. Consistently showing up, no matter how hard it gets. When you're willing to face everything about yourself, the good and the bad, you build a kind of resilience that nothing can break. But owning your life doesn't just mean taking responsibility for the bad. It also means embracing your strengths. So often, people shy away from owning their greatness. They downplay their skills, their talents, and their abilities. They diminish what makes them special because they don't want to come across as arrogant or conceited. But this is just another form of self-sabotage. When you look in the mirror, recognize what you're good at. Recognize the qualities that set you apart. Own them. Be proud of them. But don't let your strengths make you complacent. Use them as the foundation for even greater growth. Own your success just as much as you own your failures. The more you embrace both sides, the more unstoppable you become. So the next time you find yourself standing in front of that mirror moment, don't look away. Don't make excuses. Don't hide from the person you've been. Look at them. Own them. Say, "This is me. This is my life. I created this. And from this moment forward, I'm going to create something even better." It's not always going to be easy. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up. There will be moments when you want to blame someone else, or when fear makes you second guess yourself. But when you've decided to own everything, there's no room for quitting, no room for playing small. You don't get to run away from yourself anymore. You can't make excuses anymore. All that's left is you, your choices, and your life. And here's the ultimate secret. When you own everything, you unlock a freedom that most people will never know. You stop being a victim to life's circumstances. You stop being a slave to your past. You stop being at the mercy of other people's opinions. You realize that you have the power to change anything you don't like about your life. And the moment you accept that power, you become unstoppable. So look yourself in the mirror today. Own your past. Own your present. Own your future. Because the person you see staring back at you is the one who has the power to create anything they desire. It's time to stop running from the truth and start embracing it. Take full ownership of your life. And when you do, you'll realize that the only limit that exists is the one you place on yourself. Number 10. Break your limits by doing what feels impossible. There's something inside all of us that holds us back. It's a quiet voice that tells us, "That's too hard. You can't do that." Or "You're not ready yet." It whispers doubts into our minds, convincing us that the limits we've created for ourselves are real, that the boundaries we've drawn are unbreakable. This voice, however, is a lie.
We've all felt it. The fear of the unknown, the hesitation before taking the first step, the moment when the goal seems too far, too out of reach. But what if I told you that these limits you believe in don't exist? What if the boundaries you've set, the ones you think define your capacity, are merely a product of your mind? A mind that has been conditioned to seek comfort, to avoid discomfort, and to preserve the status quo. What if I told you that the things you believe are impossible are actually within your reach, if you're willing to push beyond the point where you've always stopped before? Breaking your limits begins the moment you decide to challenge the voice of doubt, the moment you decide to do what feels impossible. And here's the catch. Everything you consider impossible, every goal you think is unattainable, lies just beyond the edge of your comfort zone. It's the place you avoid, the place that feels overwhelming, scary, or uncomfortable. But when you step into that space, when you decide to move forward despite the fear, something incredible happens. You expand. The first step in breaking your limits is realizing that what feels impossible is only a perception.